What's up YouTube, it's Jaeyoon here coming at you with a Magic the Gathering deck tech now. We're sticking with Modern. You guys know it's my favorite format. So what I want to introduce you today guys is something that I built a few months back and I've been tinkering with it for a on and off sort of basis. Basically what I wanted to do is take my Rogue Tribal deck, which I've done a deck tech of in Hungarian, unfortunately not in English. So I might just go back, revisit that, post it in English as well for the people who might be interested in it. But anyway, I took quite a few learnings from that deck. I've always been a massive fan of tribal decks. I talked about this previously. But the basic thing is that blue seems to be a very versatile color, and everybody knows this in Magic. Not just necessarily because you got all the counter spells or you can draw a lot of cards, but it can actually be aggressive as well with its tribal decks. So I didn't want to build a control deck because I'm not a control player. I don't like long games. I like decks with a low mana curve setup, decks which play sort of like some around 20 lands or so. And I absolutely love ninjas. And I also portrayed the Betrayers of Kamigawa Ninjutsu starter deck from 2004, 2005, which you can also check out. And I ended up at this deck. So let's have a look at it. So basically the idea is, the original idea was that I'm going to build a ninja deck. Now the problem with the ninja deck is that you can't really build a tribal ninja deck, and the reason being for that is twofold. First of all, you need enablers for ninjas. You need enablers so you can use their ninjutsu skills, and they haven't got any lord that will give them +1/+1s. But what the competitive advantage is, and this is what Saffron Olive always talks about when you're building tribal decks, is to look at what that type of creature type is good at. So to start with the ninjas, we have our original legendary Higure, the Still Wins here. I went with mono blue because even though there are a lot of good black ninjas, again you need enablers, and keeping it a monocolor is always a good bet if you don't want to be punished by Blood Moon necessarily, or any other shenanigans like that. So we start with Higure, the Still Wins, definitely the top of our curve. But we have the one-off. Just wanted to maximize on as many different blue ninjas as I can. Plus, if he gets to damage the opponent's player, you get to search your deck for ninja. And for 2 generic, you can make a ninja unblockable as an instant, which can also be very, very useful. So we got Higure. We also have Walker of the Secret Ways. Again, just a one-off. This is from the ninjutsu deck that I've portrayed a couple of months ago. This can come down for a ninjutsu of 2, and it allows us to look into our opponent's hand, and as a backup utility for 2 in our own turn. During our own turn, we can basically return a ninja we control to our own hand. Now, it's not a sorcery. It's still an instant speed ability, but we can only use it during our turn. So don't forget that you can still react with this if your opponent's using an instant removal spell, just to keep up some mana for more Walker of Secret Ways. Then we got 3 copies of Misplace Shinobi, the little guy as they tend to call it. This is one of the ninjas that you can actually ninjutsu for 1 blue, and it allows us tempo advantage. When we deal combat damage to our opponent, we can return a creature to our opponent's hand. So this can be fairly effective against quite a few different creatures that our opponent, Magic nowadays is very much creature heavy, so being able to return 1 every time we basically hit our opponent can be quite useful. Indeed, this is the first step where we start to create tempo advantage. And of course, a ninja deck wouldn't be a ninja deck without Ninja of the Deep Hours. The Ninja Bear Delver was built on this guy. Ninjutsu down for 2, and if it deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card. It's a 2/2 for 2 basically, if we can get in damage. So how are we going to allow our ninjas to get damage in? Well, there's quite a few ways how we can go about it. And if you remember what I said about my learnings from the rogue deck that I built, one of the best blue 1-drops is Slither Blade. This card is just absolutely amazing. So for a blue, you get a 1/2 unblockable Naga Rogue. This is basically your first drop. If you have this in your hand with a Ninja of the Deep Hours, you already have a really decent curve in your hand. Of course, because most of the good rogues are either blue or black, we had to look at all the blue ones that we have, and the second option was, which is not as good as Slither Blade, but it's still very useful, is Fairy Miscreant. So we have the full playset of Fairy Miscreant. It's a 1/1 flyer for 1 blue, and if we can play another Fairy Miscreant, then we get to draw a card of that. So if you have a Miscreant, then we can play another one, we draw a card. If you can play another one, we draw 2 cards. Well, one of that, of course. So. Very useful. It's like your secondary Slither Blade, really, just another enabler. Don't forget that with our ninjas, we will ninjutsu, take these Fairy Miscreants back into our hands when we play Miscreant. Next turn we attack. We ninjutsu in Ninja of the Deep Hours. Draw a card. If we have another mana and we still have a Fairy Miscreant down, playing the second Miscreant, which just took back into our hand, we draw another card. And there we are, drawing shed loads of cards, which is blue. What blue is best at, let's be honest. And considering we have 4 Fairy Rogues here, it just makes sense to run the Spell Stutter Sprite, another excellent card that can make multiple uses. We can get multiple uses out of. It's a flash flyer, so if nothing else, we can drop it and immediately ninjutsu in our next turn. We can play with flash in our opponent's turn, so when it's our turn, we don't have to wait for summoning sickness anymore. Plus, it's basically as good a counter as many fairies we have in play. So if we have 2 fairies in play, we can counter something that costs X. If we have if you have 1 fairy in play, we play this, we can basically counter anything that costs 2. If you only play this one, we can counter anything that costs 1. And we can get it back into our hand with our ninjas, so we can reap the benefits of this card over and over and over again. And then we have 2 Snappies, 2 Snapcaster Mages. They're here because, yet again, it's a flash card, and if we can take it back into our hand with one of our ninjas, then we can reap the benefits of this utility over and over again, that giving flashback to one of our instant sorceries. Last but not least, we have a Jaeyoon's Prodigy. This is a SDCC 2015 SDCC promo. I've highlighted this in one of my videos, which probably should have showcased it a little bit better. It's a really good card. You basically have one of the best Jace cards in the game. One of the reasons why I'm running this is because I can't afford a Big Daddy Jace, although if I would sell this, I would probably be able to buy at least 1, maybe 2. But I do like this because it gives you power to dig. You can tap it, draw a card, discard a card, and if you have 5 or more cards in your graveyard, you will exile it, and you get one of the best Jaces. Comes down with 5 life. For a +1, we can give a creature -2/-0. For -3, we can yet again basically have a Snapcaster Mage utility coming out of it. And for a -5, we get an emblem. Whenever we cast a spell, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. It's not what we're trying to really do here. We're just hoping for the first 2 utilities of this card. It's not a must-have. You can run anything else besides this. However, the normal Jaeyoon Prodigies, they come fairly cheap nowadays with the reprint in the last from the vault, the transform one. So you don't have to go with the SDCC promo, obviously, but it's a nice looking card. So this is it for our enablers. Of course, Jace isn't an enabler. This is the other reason why I'm saying you can easily take it out. But we have some counterspell utilities, we have card draw utilities, we have cards that are unblockable, so they immediately allow you to play a ninjutsu card when you attack with your Slither Blade. And this is the creature package. And let's have a look at our instance that we have here. So we start out with something that is a tech choice from my point of view. We have 4 Piracy Charms. I love cards with different utilities, and I'm not saying this is the best card and a lot of people will run this, but I think it's definitely worthwhile giving it a shot, trying it out. For 1 blue, you either give Island Walk to target creature, which is, it's a hit and miss thing. If your opponent doesn't play with islands, then it doesn't really do anything. However, if you play Spreading Seas, this already has excellent utility. And guess what? Spreading Seas is one of our sideboard cards. Even though I'm not going to show you a sideboard this time, if you want to see our sideboard, then leave a comment below and let me know you want to see the sideboard for this deck. So we can either grant Island Walk, or we can give target creature +2/-1. That has a 2-fold utility. A lot of our creatures have 2 toughness, so they can take that -1 damage. And if we swing with an unblockable Slither Blade, we can actually surprise our opponent getting in 3 damage, or if a ninjutsu getting 2 damage with our Ninja of the Deep Hours, give it +2/-1, then it's an attacking 4/1 into our opponent's face unblocked, and we draw a card of it. And the first one is target player discards a card. So if nothing else, you can always shrink your opponent's hand with the Piracy Charms if you got nothing else to do. Don't forget, we can also look into our opponent's hand, so we can apply pressure with Piracy Charm. If we see they have a lot of cards, we can also utilize Piracy Charm with Walker of Secret Ways, look into our opponent's hand, see what they have in there, 2-3 cards, we can get one discarded. Worst case, if we have nothing else, we can then Snapcaster Mage, Piracy Charm, get another card discarded, so we can actually, even though we're blue, we can actually attack our opponent's hand quite effectively. Not as targeted as you can with black, but I think considering we're mono blue, we did an excellent job with this card. Then an all-star from the Ninja Bear Delver, and pretty much any mono blue deck that I play with is Disrupting Shoal. This card is amazing. This card is the gosh, can't remember the name of it. Come on, what's it called? The Legacy All Star. Oh my god, you can really tell I'm not playing Legacy. Yeah, anyway, it allows you to basically counter any card without having to pay for the mana cost. Disrupting Shoal is like the best surprise in your opponent's first turn when they try to play a 1-drop Goblin Guide, for example, and you're just Disrupting Shoal it with exiling a 1-drop card from your hand. It's out of nowhere. Yes, it does give you card disadvantage. However, it will totally put your opponent on the surprise spot, and it's just an excellent card. Early game utility, late game when you have a couple of you got maybe 4 or 5 manas in play, then you can just play its complete cost, X+2, and just use it as a regular counter spell. But it's an absolutely brilliant card. For tempo advantage, we also have 3 Remands. Remand, really, it's a draw 1 for 2 and time walk your opponent. So you countered any spell, but it goes back into your opponent's hand, and you get to draw a card of it. We do have 1 Cryptic Command, because I have 1. I own 1 copy, so I thought I'm going to put it in. It works well with Disrupting Shoal. If you tap out and you still want to counter your opponent's card, like sort of mid-game, late game, but the utility that you get of Cryptic Command cannot be overlooked. And who doesn't like to Snapcaster Mage Cryptic Command? It's just an absolutely disgusting thing to do. Again, artwork for the Modern Masters Cryptic Command is just one of the most beautiful things ever. Look at that. Sorry for the glare. Look at that. That's coming through real nice there. It's just amazing. So you get to choose 2. You can counter a spell, return target permanence to your owner's hand. You can tap all creatures your opponent's control, or you can draw a card. So again, excellent utility out of the 1 card. We do run the fan favorite Vapor Snag to be able to, again, return something to the opponent's hand, or maybe save one of our cards if we have to. And there is that 1 life damage that we can potentially give to our opponent. And we got 3 copies of Slip Through Space. Again, this isn't a really well-used card. There's a couple of reasons for it. First of all, it's not blue, so we can't use it for Disrupting Shoal. But it's a 1 blue draw card. worst case, so you can just recycle it if you have no other uses for it. But you can make your ninjas unblockable with it this turn. And if you have Ninja of the D power is down, you play Slip Through Space, make it unblockable, you draw a card, then you hit your opponent, you draw another card, so you got all the cards in the world, you got all the tempo advantage that you want in the world out of this card. Now you could go and say, why don't I run like an aura, a 1-drop blue aura that grants unblockable to our opponent, but don't forget that we might want to return some ninjas to our own hand, so we can ninjutsu them back again, or we have to save them. We might run Vapor Snag, or we might use Walker of Secret, ways to do that. Plus, we can also use Slip Through Space to one of our enablers to ensure that we can actually activate ninjutsu that turn. Slitherblade won't need it, but Fairy Miscreant might need it if our opponent has flyers. Spellstarter Sprite might need it. Excellent stuff if we play, if we attack with Snapcaster, if we grant unblockable to Snapcaster Mage, swing with it, then ninjutsu down another card, and we have another Snapcaster in our hand. So there's a lot of utility for Slip Through Space. It's crazy not to run it in this deck, in my opinion. So that's it for all the spells in the deck, and let's have a quick look on the lands that we run. You can run any six fetch lands that fetch you blue. I have my favorite Japanese polluted deltas here, the whole playset, and I run 2 Floody Strands, but you can run anything else, whatever you want, as long as you can fetch blue. We got 2 Mutavaults. And just that good old Mutavault versatility. It becomes a 2/2 with all creature types. You can potentially get it back into your hand if it's unblockable, if you want to save your land or anything like that. It's nice to have 2 Mutavaults. It's nothing a finisher or whatever else. You have that backup sort of ability. And then we are very easy. We run 11 islands. And that's us. That's basically the deck. It's fairly simple. If you want to build it, obviously you can take out some of the more expensive cards, like the Snapcasters, like the Jace, the Cryptic Command. But I need to do a little bit more playtesting with this deck, but I think it does what I want it to do, which is return cards back into our hand, draw more cards, have that tempo advantage, and just basically slowly eke the advantage so we can win the game. So I hope you like this video, guys. Make sure you like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Welcome to the new subscribers, guys. Welcome to the crew. I hope you'll enjoy the content that I got coming out later. But for now, Bus Saiyan signing out.